5-degree angle, and then holding up 2 fingers on the right and 5 on the left. Please repeat after me. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. My protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night and by day, through his prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. And Islam, or its part itself, is through his holy prophet, Islam. All right, this meeting, I want to announce that this meeting is now open. This is the Moorish Science Temple of America, Temple 30, Columbus, Ohio. First and foremost, we always rise, giving the highest praise to the creator, sustainer, our Father God, Allah. We extend honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. We also extend honors to the forerunner to the prophet, our brother, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for preparing the way for purity and love. We extend honors to the Moorish and American flags. We also extend honors to the Charter and its 10 wonders. We extend honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh by the Prophet, our brother Emily Ill. Honors also to all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, including all Adep Sheiks and all faithful Moors. We extend honors also to the current Supreme Grand Sheikh and Supreme Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. Brother Jackson Bey, please read our divine constitution and bylaws.
Islam Grand Sheikh, I rise giving perfect praise to Allah and honor to the Prophet Drew Ali, honor to the forefathers and foremothers, and honor to the Asiatic nations and all over the world. Salvation, Allah, unity. The Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday, the first man parted out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is put in danger or accused falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws. All members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and the divine creed, that they may know that they are part and partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slave holders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national names recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the western and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean before them. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American Prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Jurali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office of Noble Jurali, home office, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy Holy Day, Muslims.
Islam and gratitude, brother. All right, brother Kobe, would you please read our writs?
Islam, Grand Sheikh. I rise, give perfect praise to the great God Allah. Rise, give honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Rise, give honors to the forerunner Marcus Messiah Garvey, the harbinger. Rise, give honors to all ills and babes, all Muslims on the call and on the planet, to be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Ajax must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds, the ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That's why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nation of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, this instruction from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful to your forefather, divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times are drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they'll be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember your salvation. Your card is your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy Holy Day, Muslims.
All right, Islam and gratitude, brother. All right, Islam. Sister Lachey L, would you please read our additional laws?
Islam. I rise and give all praise to the great Father God Allah, honors to the Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, honors to Marcus Messiah Garvey, the forerunner of the Prophet, honors to all Muslims on the call and all Muslims around the world. Questionary and additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1. Grand sheikhs and governors and heads of all temples, all business, each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Before acting upon by any members, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the members to sacrifice finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2. All members are to attend their EDEP meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second, he will be fined $1, which will go in your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid. And if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish uplifting funds, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3. It is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation. And if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I would have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we're to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in mind that all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple, then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and mind filled with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Islam. Happy Holy Day, Muslims.
All right, Islam, sister, and gratitude. Gratitude. I want to just say thanks to everybody for coming in today. I also want to say gratitude to our brother Shiloh L. also for joining us here on this call. Before we get started, we're going to be speaking from chapter 23 in our Holy Koran. But before we do that, I just want to speak on a few things. Just want to speak about our free national standards. Right. Speak briefly on our free national standards and nationality in general. And before we do that, let's go to chapter 47 in the Holy Koran. Here we go. Yeah, let's go to chapter 47, verses 16 and 17. All right. Because when we speak about nationality, we're talking about people with a common origin, common tradition, origin, and language, right? Also, another prerequisite for people with the nationality is people that are capable of forming or actually constituting a nation state. When you have that, then the nationality actually exists. So they have to be capable of doing these things and then share that common origin or tradition, and language. And so when we look at 47 verses 16 and 17, we're actually going up to verse 15. It says, the time has come when every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess his own. Right. And when if anyone's questioning what is it, why is it saying the time has come? Right. It's 2023. This stuff ain't even important anymore. We know here, as we've spoken about before, that the situation that we're in here in North America is unique. There's also the people in Yemen who are referred to as undesirables in their own nation. And they're in a similar situation with us, where you have the so-called undesirables of Yemen who are looked down on at the bottom of their society, almost perpetually at the bottom of the society. People are able to take advantage of them, abuse them. They don't get justice. Right. They're in a similar, not saying the exact same, but a similar situation to us. So through war, slavery, all types of things, it's caused the people in the present day to not necessarily be able to trace themselves back. Right. They lost their line of descent. And people have taken advantage of that situation, right? So they basically have people they can abuse and misuse and mistreat. And so we're in a similar situation here. And so this is why the prophet's speaking to us in particular, saying the time has come. Now, this applies to everyone on earth, but he's specifically speaking to us, right? We must worship under our own vine and fig tree. We understand as members of the Moorish Science Temple of America and those who are studying with us that we, at some point in time, took on the ways of the Romans, right? We allowed our nationality to be taken from us. And then due to our own ignorance, it took a divine prophet to get us back in alignment with Allah, right? So that we could be part of the family of nations. And so just going back in here, 16 through 17, through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principles of their forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, Black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing, right? Most of our people at this day and time know that at some point in history, Christianity had been forced upon our ancestors, right? So even though most of our people are Christians, which we're not attacking any religion or anything like that, but just, we have to be honest, even though our people, grown-ups, most adults know this, that it was forced on our ancestors at some point in time, Christianity. But they, as the prophet said, they strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. So when it's saying strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing, they don't even understand the history, right? The geopolitical moves that were being made when the European nations, the ones that agreed to become Christian nations, even if they were, non-secular in government, they still agreed upon an organized religion so that they could be seen as civilized, so that they could participate in trade, so that they could be a part of the family of nations. And so it's important for us to understand this collectively, to have a more well-rounded view of history, so that we know now when the Europeans created things like the Holy Trinity and these things that were passed on to us and our ancestors, that stuff had nothing to do with us. So this is why it's saying we strayed after our ancestors, strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. These were political moves made for the Europeans' earthly salvation, right? For their gain. We're not even knocking it. They did what they had to do so that they could become a part of the family of nations. Okay? So it was an agreed upon, and it didn't just happen overnight. There were several councils, several Nicene councils. They're meeting in places like Constantinople, these different leaders, heads of state, religious leaders getting together. This is what we agree upon. This is what we're not going to do. These are books of the, the scriptures we're going to use for our Bible. And so they agreed upon something, right? And so that was done for their earthly salvation. And so when we took it on, we were straying after the gods of Europe, of whom we knew nothing, because most of us don't even know this history, even still to this day, don't even know really what we're participating in. And so this is why it's so important for us. And so even in this, though, even in this common lack of understanding that we have, this is a common origin. We all share this in common. And so this is why the prophet is saying in general, the Asiatics of North America, the Moorish Americans in general, because we all share these common characteristics. We all have this origin, this similar origin, right? That binds us together. And so the prophet is returning us to what our forefathers were, because of course we are today without doubt or contradiction. Nobody can change that. Nobody can change the descent nature unless their powers extend beyond the great universal creator Allah. Right? And so once we come back into who we truly are, now we can act and think and move independently. Right? Because anyone with eyes can see Western civilization. Rome is crumbling. Right? And the Roman nations, they can only act as gods and dominate over us if we allow it. So even as this crumbles before us, if we have independent thought, if we actually practice Islam, that's another thing. Some people think that they can skip around Islam. You can't leave that out. That's where the actual salvation is. Coming into Islam, cleaning ourselves up, purifying ourselves, right? Submitting to the will of Allah. We can't leave that out, right? So the prophet gave us something that will prevent any other nation from dominating over us. And this is our own free national standard. So the free national standard was established by the use of the authority of the prophet for a nation, right? And so all nations have free national standards, right? And these are things that aren't subject to the influences, the control and hindrance or domination of others, of other nations, right? Other corporations. And these are things that can make it so that these people can succeed, can continue their culture, right? Without hindrance from anyone else, regardless of what anyone else's agenda is. And so the prophet gave us these things so that we can maintain our nationhood. He established the Holy Day meeting like we have now, our Sunday school, our public meetings, our Holy Koran, Divine Constitution and Bylaws, the questionnaire, right? So those are just a few. There's several other things you may be able to think of too, but I'll go ahead and stop there. And let's go ahead and go into chapter 25. But just really, I did want to just speak on that briefly though earlier so that we understand, because if we don't understand, nobody's going to understand. Nobody's going to be able to explain this to us, right? So just once again, we're in the Quran in chapter 47, it's saying that our people suffer, right? Because we allowed this to happen at some point in time, right? We honored not the creed and principles of our forefathers, right? We allowed this to happen. So now we have to come back into our own, right? We strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom we knew nothing. We didn't even really understand the political nature of these different Christian denominations that we became a part of, not even really understanding that it was created for their earthly salvation, okay? And so as they go around the world creating missions, bringing the gospel to the people, they're also expanding their dominion. And that's really what it's about. Expanding their dominion, right? Under the name of Christ or Jesus or Pope or whatever. But that's what it's really about, expanding the dominion. Not saying there's no people who genuinely want to help or do anything like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying at a level that most of us don't understand. That's what it was really about, conquer and divide. Okay, Islam more. So let's go into chapter 23. We've been speaking about chapters 20, 21, 22, and now 23. I think also chapter 24, we're also dealing with the family unit. We're getting divine instructions on how to build our foundation, how to govern our families, because there's no nation without Moorish families, right? There's no Moorish mothers, Moorish fathers, Moorish children, Moorish grandparents even, right? Right, if we don't have that, there's no continuity. There's no way that this can continue and grow and flourish. So like, if for us as Moorish Americans, we should want to protect the families. We should want to, to hold it up high. It should be important to us. And so here we have holy instructions for thy children. Also in this chapter, we get into the 12 virtues, the 12-step ladder. That's why that graphic was up on the screen. For those of us who've been studying for a while, we know that the 12-step ladder is teaching us about the divine virtues, right? And we know also that by working to obtain each virtue, right, to gain mastery over each virtue, every time we put in the work towards obtaining that virtue, we further subdue the lower self. This is what this is really about. It's really about unfolding Allah within each and every one of us, right? Why do we say Allah within? Because the higher self is spirit man, and spirit man is one with Allah. So this is really what it's about. All right, so let's go ahead and go in here. Holy instructions for thy children. All right, Islam. We'll go ahead and read through this and just open up the floor to dialogue. All right, Islam, more. Hang on one second. All right, pardon. Consider thou art a parent, the importance of thy trust, the being thou hast produced, it is thy duty to support. Upon thee also it dependeth whether the child of thy bosom be a blessing or a curse to thyself, a useful or worthless member of society. Prepare him early with instruction and season his mind with the maxims of truth. Watch the bent of his inclinations, set him right in his youth, and let no evil habit gain strength with his years. So shall he rise like a cedar on the mountains. His head shall be above the trees of the forest. A wicked son is a reproach to his father, but he that doth right is an honor to his gray hairs. The soil is thine own, let it not want cultivation. The seed which thou sowest, thou also shalt reap. Teach him obedience, getting into the 12-step ladder, and he shall bless thee. Teach him modesty, and he shall not be ashamed. Teach him gratitude, and he shall receive benefits. Teach him charity, and he shall gain love. Teach him temperance, and he shall have health. Teach him prudence, and fortune shall attend him. Teach him justice, and he shall be honored by the world. Teach him sincerity, and his own heart shall not reproach him. Teach him diligence, and his wealth shall increase. Teach him benevolence, and his mind shall be exalted. Teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. Islam. I want to open up the floor to questions and comments. Any commentary anyone would like to share? Just speaking about chapter 23. And on that note, I yield the floor. I'll hold my commentary to the end. Islam. Oh yeah, if anybody would like to speak, feel free to speak up. I yield the floor, Islam.
Islamism.
All right, Islam, brother. Islam, you have the floor.
Right, so my highest giving all perfect praises to the Father of the universe, Allah. And I would like to give honors to Prophet Abu Ali and all the divine prophets. I was just sitting here and I was reading while you was reading. And lately I've been listening to books because I drive and I have time. One book I've been listening to is it's a book called the Master Key System. And books like that and books like The Science of Getting Rich. It's quite amazing. Most of these older books, like that was made in like the early 1900s, all of these books are about the inner self. It's all within the Holy Koran and the Moorish Science Temple of America. And it's important sometimes we overlook, as I do. It's very simple. It says at the top before you start reading is the holy and divine instructions. So this is like a manual for us, and it guides us just like in our prayer. So whenever we feel like this is simple or it's way too much, it really is it's just listening and paying attention to what the prophet gave us, the simple instructions. With that, I would like to say thank you for the time. Islamism.
Islam, brother. Islam, yeah, gratitude. And like you said, the divine instructions, and then also it's law for us, right? This is in our holy book. Just in verse 1, we're getting written instructions that's telling us that we're obligated, right? As Moorish American Muslims, right? We're obligated. It's our duty to support, right? So we're fully responsible for the children, and so that's like right off bat, with that will end a lot of problems, that some of us are having like in our communities, like right off bat as a Moorish American Muslim, male or female, there's no way around that, right? It's thy duty to support, right? Consider thou art a parent, the importance of thy trust, the being thou hast produced, right? So it's something that, is extremely significant to us. It's extremely important to us at a personal level, also to the community and the nation, right? We have to make sure that we do what we can to help children reach their potential. Islam. And yeah, gratitude for sharing that, brother. Islam. All right. Any other Moors have any feedback or comments?
Islam.
Islam.
Brother Shiloh,
Islam, brother.
all praise due to Allah, Father of the universe. Honor to all the prophets. Honor to all the Moors. Honor to the leadership of this organization, as well as the temple. Islam. Chapter 23 is a beautiful chapter, and I like the way you introduced it, but he called out a few words. I call them accountability words. He used words like, for us as parents, he used words like trust, duty, usefulness. And then he started out with what that type of person who can be trusted, who is dutiful, and who is useful in the path of Allah, in the purification of their self and in the perfection of their self. He gives them these items to teach. But like a swim teacher, he has to know how to swim before he can, try to save somebody. Otherwise, both of you can drown. And I think what he does is set a criteria for a parent. He establishes it clearly through action words and verbs. And he also gives us a list of items that we can benefit from ourselves as well as our children. Islam.
Islam, brother. Yeah, definitely gratitude for pointing that out. Just like in verse 2, where he says, upon thee also it dependeth, right? It's on us, whether the child is a blessing or a curse to thyself, or even taking it to the community, right? A useful or worthless member of the community, right? So we can't do a bad job out here and then turn around and be victims to our own children. Like, man, I don't know why they running wild like this, why they doing what they do, right? It's all on us right here and right now. So once again, bringing back the weight of responsibility, how serious this is, for Moorish American Muslims. And this is really, I see you, Brother Jackson, but this is really strictly speaking to the Moorish American Muslims out there, right? Like there's no excuse for us. We have to hold to this. We can't have our children out of control. And if they are, that means we have to take some steps back to try to, to get things right, because it should be of the utmost importance to us. We have divine instructions on this. Islam, brother, I yield the floor. I yield the floor, Brother
Yep.
Jackson Bay. Islam.
Peace and love. This is the 12 max of the truth. You would agree that the 12 maxims is like our 12 virtues. That's what we also call them, right?
Islam. Correct.
Okay, so when I was looking up virtues, it was funny because it was how it was, virtue. I got 1828. It said virtue. Virtus from virio is root, see worth. So it's coming from a word that's meaning worth, right? Then it says like the first definition is strength, that substance or quality of physical bodies by which they act and produce effort effects on their bodies, on others' bodies, right? So looking at these virtues, we could look at these as our qualities or our strengths. I'm gonna read some more of the definitions: bravery, valor, moral goodness, the practice of moral duties, and the abstaining from vices, or a conformity of life, a conversation to the moral, a conversation to the moral life, acting power, excellence, or that which constitutes value or merit. So each one of these virtues is teaching us a different strength that once we attain it, it adds worth to our character and our being, physically and spiritually. So that's when I looked up the definition of virtues and applied it, and I was like, dang, each one of these qualities do add strength and character and value to our character. That's how I saw it. So peace.
Islam, brother. And yeah, we being set up to succeed. Like you're speaking about the virtues that we have. Then also we have the 5 divine principles, right? And on the flip side of the 5 divine principles, you have the 5 what's a synonym? I mean antonym for divine, right? You have the 5 undivine principles, which would be what? Hatred, slander, lewdness, murders, theft. Right. So we're being set up to go in the right direction to to guarantee our success, regardless what's being pushed on us. And it's really important now because the agendas to keep us in our lower self are heavy, right? That's what's getting pushed heavy big time in the airwaves. Islam. I think somebody else was trying to speak. If so, I yield the floor. Islam. All right. Well, if not, that's cool. Okay, now I see you, brother Hazel. Islam.
Islam. And so I look at chapter 23 as like the foundation of our future nation, because what we do right here in this chapter is going to dictate what happens in the future. So having this good, strong foundation is going to help everything. And I also look at like number patterns. So I see it like it's 23, which is a 5, and that can represent, our 5 national standards. And then also it has 13, which is 4, which is a door. And if you add the 5 and 13, you break it down, it goes to 9. And I think you said that the number 9 represents the number of being a human or something like that, represents humanism. So I just basically see this just as the foundation. And if we keep this strong, then our nation will grow faster and stronger. And like you was talking about a community, that also helps out with community too. And so this is just leading to like structuring our nation and making it stronger, because the children are our nation. And with that, I give up the mic.
Islam, brother. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. So speaking about the 5, like the 23, the 2 and the 3 being 5, you're looking at the metaphysical Bible dictionary, right, by Charles Fillmore. It's saying the metaphysical meaning of 5 is the working of wisdom and understanding. Wisdom is the presence, the awareness of the presence and power of God within you. Right. The understanding is the application of the God power in your everyday affairs. So this is like trying to give you an understanding of what 5 means on a metaphysical level, so that when you see these things come up, you know what type of message you're going to be receiving, especially when you're looking at the scripture. And then also with the 12, right? Because with that 12-step ladder, as we climb the 12-step ladder, right, we're not just trying to be better people. Yes, we want to be better people and have better qualities, right? Righteousness, live in righteousness, but also, right, we're becoming aware of this presence of God within. So if you're looking at 12 from a metaphysical perspective, 12 always refers to spiritual fulfillment. Always. Doesn't matter. You talking about Elijah took 12 sons, the 12 tribes, right? The 12 sons of Jacob, right? In the scriptures, 12 is always going to symbolize spiritual fulfillment. And so that's why we attain the 12 virtues as we climb the spiritual ladder to unfold what? Allah within us, the temple of God. Right? So this is why it's important. And so that's also why it's in here in these holy instructions for thy children, because ultimately this is the message we are to give to our children. And the best way to give it is to live it, not just by teaching it. So this is the work that we have to do on ourselves so that we can be, good teachers, so that we can guide. Islam. All right, Islam, Sister Lachey, I see you. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam. I just want to say that parents are the examples for the youth. So what they see is generally what they do. So I think we should just lead them in truth and show them how to be and take them to the temple so they can see like good examples of upright men and women in the community. Peace.
Islam, sister, gratitude. Yes, I agree. Islam. All right. Okay, Islam. So does anyone else have any questions or any comments you would like to share? Anyone want to demonstrate? Hey, Islam more. So I do want to share one last thing on this chapter. Let me get this back up. Okay, so let's go back in here and look at verse 7. It says, the soil is thine own, let it not want cultivation. The seed which thou sowest, thou shalt also reap. Right? So soil, right? Tilling the soil is not thy own here. And in speaking about it, and cultivating the land, the soil in this metaphor, right? The way that it's speaking, and tilling of the land, preparing the land for the seed, it's speaking about the family, the wife, the seed which thou sowest, let it not want cultivation. Preparing the ground, preparing the home, actually living a life, maintaining our duty, right? Maintaining the family. This is of extreme importance to us, right? Let it not want cultivation. So we're being prepared by the prophet, right? For the quality of how our household should be maintained, right? What we are to do, like what is our duty? So especially like for Moorish American men, like Muslims, we have to be there. The family should be of the utmost importance, right? And then going into verse 8, we're now starting to get into the 12 virtues, right? We have to teach this to our children. And the best way of teaching is actually living it. We can actually see these virtues in the Quran. It's revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. If we look at obedience, we can go to Surah 3, verse 132. Can Islam, Brother Jackson Bey, are you able to pull that up for us? Chapter 3, verse 132 in the Quran. If you can't find it, don't worry about it.
Peace, you asked me, bro?
Yeah, I apologize, brother. If you can't pull it up, it's okay.
You said the Quran, chapter
Yeah.
3?
Yeah, 3, verse 132. You got it? Speaking about obedience.
Yeah, I'm about to get it.
Okay.
And what was the verse?
Oh, yeah, verse 132.
132.
Okay, okay. Here we go. 132. Okay.
So yeah, as you read that, it's pretty much going to be saying the same thing.
132. Okay.
Here, use mine.
Okay. Obey Allah and the messenger, so you may be shown mercy.
Islam. And so that's, for the most part, that's saying the same thing. Teach him obedience and he shall bless thee. So even speaking about the raising of our children, teaching them the divine virtues, it's saying that the outcome is going to grant divine favor on the parents, right? You shall be blessed, right? Of course, the children will be blessed, but it's even like we will be blessed. But then on the opposite hand, like if we're not teaching them obedience, right? We're going to get the opposite of blessings, right? Things be taken away, misery. So this is for us as well as the children, right? Teach him modesty and he shall not be ashamed. And going on, teach him gratitude and he shall receive benefits, right? So even, in the present day, right? It's not even just that, if we slip and if we're not trying to teach these things, that later on they'll become bad people. No, also in the present, we shall reap the rewards right here and now, or right, you get the opposite of a blessing for not teaching these divine principles. And so the prophet's trying to raise up our consciousness now to instruct us as well as the children, right? So that we can succeed now in the physical and in the spiritual, right? Just going forward, teach him temperance and he shall have health. Teach him prudence and fortune shall attend him, right? So this is how for the children to be wealthy, right? So these are the blessings that we get as well as the children. And if we're not experiencing that, we can't look anywhere else outside of ourselves, right? As was said earlier, right? For not following these divine instructions. This is what guarantees our success. I just wanted to point out that just that one example. But before we move on, if anyone else has anything you would like to share about chapter 23, please feel free to chime in. And on that note, I yield the floor.
Yeah, Islam. So actually mine was from 47 to 17. I was just wondering, could you explain like what they really meant by like straight after the gods of Europe? Because I know like some of the Europeans, they said that Jesus was a god, and I was trying to see like what would be like an example of some of the gods that people stray after Europe. I was trying to get like a better understanding of that. So I know like most of the Greek gods, they go back into like they translate back into the Egyptian gods, and just trying to roughly get a good understanding of that. Verse 17.
Islam. So yeah, that's a good question too. I mean, some people would say that the way that that Jesus was treated in some cultures, he was a continuation of the god Zeus, right? But what I was explaining earlier about straight after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing, I was speaking about us in particular not knowing the actual origins of the religions that we were taking on. So when they're forming the Trinity, saying that Jesus is the Son of God, even though in the scriptures, I'm glad they didn't take those verses out where it's saying ye are all sons of God, yet you will die like the sons of men. And then when Jesus also quotes that verse, I'm glad that they didn't leave those out. But in many cases, they took certain books out. They let some books stay in there, right? They made decisions to create the religion that fit their political goals. So one of their gods could have been money. It could have been, several different things. And so if you don't understand this, if I don't understand this, but I'm considering myself Presbyterian or Baptist or any of these other denominations, but I don't really understand what it's really about, then we're straying after the gods of Europe, of whom we knew nothing. And especially our ancestors who took those things on, in the, 200 years ago or 300 years ago, right? They're not knowing really what they're getting into. So these things were being made for, for the most part, for financial gain. Now, they may have kept some of the practices like Easter with the Easter egg hunt and things like that, because in reality, they were still worshiping Ishtar. And so they just incorporated this stuff into the church. And then that's once again, us straying after the gods of Europe, of whom we knew nothing. Because how many people was in the church? Like, I know sometimes that was like the only time I went to church. The whole year was like Easter Sunday, and you put on a little Easter suit and all that stuff. So we would carrying on these traditions and doing this stuff and not even really having any understanding of what we were doing or why. And so that's why we were suffering. Islam. But those are just, some examples that were incorporated into that religion. And, they had several different origins. And
Islam.
Yeah, we don't. Islam, brother. I yield the floor.
Islam, all praise due to Allah, honor to the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and all prophets, true and divine. Honor to you, brothers and sisters. I think in chapter 10, it goes back and answers that question, because he explains to us that the Brahmins call him Parabrahm. In Egypt, they call him Thoth, and Zeus is his name in Greece, and the Hebrews call him Jehovah. I think those are multiple examples to build upon when we talk about the gods of Europe. We can talk about the gods of Europe when we talk about, and we could also be aware of following the gods of the Brahmin, following the gods of the Egyptians, following the gods of the Greeks, following the gods of the Hebrews. Because later on down in that part, he clarifies about when man sees Allah as one with him, as Father, he needs no middleman. And that's really what he was trying to get us by making that one example with straying against the gods of Europe, because the God we worship, his name is Allah. That's the identity name of God. We're not calling him what the Brahmins call him, what the Egyptians call him, what the Greeks call him, or what the Hebrews call him, or either the Europeans call him. We call him what our ancient forefathers call him, which is his identity name, which is Allah. And he is one with us. He is our Father. And we need no middleman or priest to intercede. We just need to purify ourselves and seek perfection, the temple of perfected man, Islam.
Islam, brother. Islam, gratitude. Yes, Allah, the God. Islam. Islam, brother Kobe, I yield the floor.
Islam. I just wanted to add, and this is a great bill. I wanted to add just the fact of, even though going to closing of the so-called Black History Month in Florida right now, we have a lot of educated of our Asiatics that are really going against what DeSantis was saying, like not putting the African American studies in because of the fact that it has no factual proof. And it is weird that even a European can point out the fact that our people can still try to put us back in slavery. And again, that's, as far as Moors, we are a republic. And as a Republican, that's what's going on in Florida right now. It's just the fact that within schools, they had said that we're not going to do African American studies, and it uproared a lot of the HBCU colleges. So you have, people that you're looked at in our community as Asiatics that are educated, and that can actually put you into slavery. And it is, I mean, I tell my daughter knows, and she knows, and she's only 11, and she sees it, and she's like, it's weird because every day at school she goes to school, she questions, she like, we're Moorish American, and it's a few people that are Asiatic that will say that they're not Black, but she's like, it's a lot that say they do. I yield the floor just to let it know that it's out there. And I don't know what in other states, but it's really out there. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, brother. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too. I mean, we're speaking about instructions for thy children, right? These are instructions for the most part for us to do in our homes, our communities. But like, it's also important for us to branch out the Sunday school into an actual school. Like the Nation of Islam has the Muhammad's University for the children. Like we have to have our own schools for our Moorish American children to go and learn science and math and all of that stuff, but also their own history, because nobody else is going to teach it. Because it's those people like DeSantis, they don't just want to remove the stories about slavery and all that. They want to remove anything speaking about us, period. They like, no, don't teach them about Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. Don't teach them about how they were being lynched and their towns were being destroyed. They're like, oh, hell no, right? We're not talking about any of that. Okay, and so the only people who will teach the truth unadulterated, and especially as we need to learn about it, especially learning about our nationality, because they're not trying to teach us that. They all have to keep their mouths closed about that. So we're the only ones that's going to teach it. No one else is going to, give us a boost and try to assist us with that. It's on us. So, that's something that we have to do. We have to build our own schools. Maybe once we get the schools going, then some will assist, without letting people know, give us a check, behind the scenes, like, don't tell nobody I did this, but nobody's going to like openly come out and just help us. Because if they did, we're going to do that, they would have done it by now. Islam. Yeah, Islam. So, Islam Moors, I want to, before we go into the closing of the meeting, I just want to open the floor to any questions or comments in general, even if it's not related to chapter 23. Feel free to speak up, Moors. Islam.
Islam.
All right, Islam, brother.
I'm glad y'all mentioned that about the schools. The question I have is, how would we go about that? I know as Moorish Americans, and this is something that I've been noticing over the years, because we have so much, I guess, infighting. I guess I would call it on a lighter note, and the hierarchies of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It's not so much of the members, but more or less in the hierarchies. That it seems that we can have, let's say, for example, we'll have like 10 temples in like Philly, but we don't be living together, working together. So it kind of brings an issue where we all are like going to the same schools. Most of these schools they're based off of European theology. So technically, in a sense, our children are learning about those gods of Europe that we strayed after. Just they're hitting in other ways, and then we have to come home, and then we kind of wash that thought out of their minds and teach them true Islamism, or teach them about themselves that they're not learning in school. The question I have is, how do we start those steps of actually having our own school so we can build that foundation, just the one block itself, Islamism?
All right, Islam. I believe the sister wants to answer that question. Islam.
Islam. Happy Holy Day, Muslims. First and foremost, I'd like to rise and give perfect praise to our Father God Allah, honors to his prophet Noble Drew Ali, honors to the forerunner of the prophet Marcus Mosiah Garvey, honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Chief, our brother Emily Ill, and honors to everything Moorish and all you Muslims in attendance. That is a very, very good question, brother. And as I do the research, it is not hard to open a school. Anybody can do it, right? It's just a simple process, Islam. But for us, we understand that our communities were divided and conquered. We used to live together. We used to have tight-knit communities. And then, we started integrating. So now we're living, with everyone in everyone else's communities and working for everyone else's businesses. So as we learn who we are and our nationality, our culture, our principles, we can teach these things to our children and make sure that we are setting the proper stage for our communities. Because if all of us on this call, us grown-ups, we're learning this, we're applying this now, right? But for our children, they're coming up in this, right? So as they come up in this, our families can definitely intergrade, as Moorish American, strong Moorish American families who grew up in this knowledge of self. So then, just like the Jewish communities, we've been to Miami, been to New York. We see even here in Columbus, they have a city, well, a little part of the city called Bexley. They all don't live there, but they all go there to commune, right? So we just have to get our numbers right, and starting with our whole households and our families. And that's why our families and households are so important. We cannot just start learning this and keeping it to ourselves. We have to apply it to our households. We have to teach our children so that they can be, strong, and so that they can live as Moorish American Muslims. So our 5 children, they know who they are, and they do not wish to amalgamate. They wish to be with other Moorish American Muslims because that is what we are instilling in them. Even though we live in a neighborhood where, it's mixed, with Asiatics and Europeans, and they accept and love everyone that accepts and loves them, but they do not do what they do. They do not go where they go. They're all here for Holy Day instead of, out in the streets partying and doing what, the status quo, instead of, doing what all the other teenagers are doing right now. So this is the important piece. And as they are learning, us, the parents, are setting up. So we set up the nonprofit to create the programs for the communities, to teach the communities, to service in our communities. So as we continue to do these things and be seen, and people are noticing, oh, those are the Moors, because I'm not even gonna lie, people don't know what Moorish American Muslims are. They don't even know what fezzes are. They don't know why we're wearing turbans. So we have to have a presence. We have to be in the communities, being active, attending, the local events, even in politics, we have to be there and we have to be present, right? And as we do those things and continue, then people are going to want to know more. They want to be more. And we will definitely see, we have to be the example, but we are already seeing people gravitating more and more towards, right knowledge and nationality and knowledge of self. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, sister, that was beautifully stated. I do want to add 2 things to that too. Speaking about how we get our schools up and build our own schools, and also you're speaking about one with the leadership. You think that's what's holding things back? And I agree with that. I think so too. And I don't think it's an accident. And there's one way to that I think to go about fixing that issue with the leadership, and that's just by the Moors, all of the people, the members, upholding the prophet, using the prophet standard and holding to that, even if it means there's some things that I have to change or that I have to fix. Because as the brother Shiloh L said earlier, we need to purify ourselves, right? So we have to be the example and set the standard. The standard is the prophet, and then hold these people accountable. Hold all the leadership accountable, and don't let people, tell you that they're the official temple because of some paperwork or because of some supposed lineage, right? Hold them accountable. And if they don't fit the prophet standard, they can't be there. And that's what they would be terrified of people doing, right? Because there's nothing, they don't have anything else to offer. They don't bring anything else to the table except for the lies and stuff about their lineage and things like that. So you hold the leadership accountable. If we all do this, they won't have no power. They won't have no members, nothing, right? And then, but something that we all must do, right, so that we can build what we need for ourselves. The prophet said it takes finance to uplift the nation. So we all need to hold to our divine instructions, right? Our divine constitution, which tells us all to pay our dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Don't ever think, oh, the dues is only such and such a month. Man, this stuff ain't gonna never do. No, everybody needs to do it. Everybody needs to stick to it unless it's some hardship or something, which you can't do it, right? And then, and I would say, even in addition to that, if there's something that the temple decides that, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna start, collecting these funds, start a business, contribute what you're able to that, whether it's 50 cents or $50, whatever you could do comfortably, comfortably without, taking from your household, right? Do that. Because what we do as a nation, right, it has a national view, just like the sister was saying about Jewish people. We're doing this for a purpose. So if we start a business, which we start a business where we have fezzes and we have them for wholesale as well as retail, for us, technically, that business should be open under the temple, right? And I'm not saying we have everything figured out, so still some stuff we working to figure out, but technically that should be opened under the temple, because from our perspective, that falls under our divine plan of the ages, right? We're raising finances so that we can build a school. We're raising finances so that we can get land. We need tractors. We need solar panels. We need these things so we can grow our own food. So that falls under the divine plan of the ages. These things should be opened under the temple. And since it takes finance to get that stuff together, we have to raise the finances ourselves. We can't be out here doing things, sideways or crooked. It's not going to work. No, we're doing it sustainably. Okay, we know we can put up some money and then go and get this or start this business that's going to be bringing in money so that we can do what we need to do. So that's what we have to do as a collective. And even if we don't know what we're going to do, we can put up the finances and then figure out what we're going to, what business we're going to start later on. And like, we can do it, and we're doing it. Like I said, we don't have everything figured out, but we can at least say we got that going, and so that it's not just talk for us. We will be able to move bigger, and do bigger and better things. But like, if, Moors, and so, maybe we should put this on YouTube, because Moors, no matter where you're at in the country, you can do that, right? And start to build your Moorish town, because maybe we're not going to be able to just wait on some national leadership to just do this across the board. Maybe it's something that every, group of Moors need to do and create their community right where they're at. Because if you're waiting on this national leadership, this piss poor, this untrustworthy, and especially if in 2023, you're trying to tell me that you need to be respected and seen as a national leader because of some lineage, and you don't have any Moorish nothing. No, nothing to show for it. You telling people to go get your fez from Lauderer. You let me see your ID. You don't even have an Ella Bay on there. What is this, a scheme? What you gonna be doing next year? Next year, you're gonna be in the Nation of Islam. 2 years from now, you're gonna be a Hebrew Israelite. They just go, they get a new assignment. Okay, go over here. Now you go infiltrate the gangs. Like what they gonna be doing? So no, you can't trust them, and you can't wait on these people to do anything. You have to do it right where you're at. And you have to, I mean, what does the prophet say about the community? Like within the community, because of civilization, we're able to enjoy so many things, right? We have schools, we have all of these things that you couldn't enjoy unless you lived within a society, a civilization. So ultimately, you can take care of your family, but you can't do it by yourself as far as the community. So you have to get with real physical people in your area, real Moors. That's what we all have to do, you know, and build something, because we could see this crazy stuff that's going on that the Europeans gonna let us down. They're already doing it. And I don't even want to talk about it because it's so negative. But that mess with the train, right? That was right on the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania. It's like, come on, we don't have no time to play around, you know? So that's what I think we need to do. Everybody needs to get their finances up and get to be industrious. Start the Moorish businesses. Figure out how to do it under your temple, because that's a part of our religion. Starting businesses, being industrious, raising finances is a part of our religion, right? Which means it could be tax-free, you know? So that should be motivation for us to do this and, you know, to work to build up our communities. And as the sister said, it takes time. We don't know everything. We're having to figure it out just within our group, because who is there to even teach us, to show us how to do it? Where's the example? Right? The example is the prophet. But like, where's the example right here, right now? So we are just having to figure this stuff out, man. It's crazy. But it's like, we wouldn't be here if we weren't able to get it done. Right? To be, you know, positive about it. If we weren't able to get this done, we wouldn't even be here. So please, Moors, don't be feeling like depressed about this stuff. Right? If we weren't strong enough, we wouldn't even be alive right now. Islam. Islam. Yeah, we have time. We right on time. Right? We right on time. So you don't have to worry about, you know, what anyone else is doing. Don't stick your head in the sand and act like you got all the time in the world or nothing like that. But just saying, we right on time. We're not too late. As the sister said in the chat, La L, no one's coming to save us. We must save ourselves. We have a prophet, right? So it's like, come on, it's on us. We just have to follow these instructions. And that's the good thing about it. We don't have to wait on some one person or this group of leaders to come and say, okay, let's get right. We don't have to wait on nobody to get it together. We can do it no matter where you're located. We could do it ourselves right now. And they definitely not perfect as a leader. But the one thing that we can say here in Temple 30 is, hey, we got you on the fezzes. We have some other entrepreneurs in here too, right? Moors got the turbans. We have other Moorish apparel, right? So, you know, we working. We're building something here. Islam. I see you, brother Kobe.
Islam and perfection wouldn't be on this plane. Islam, this plane right now is a learning field, and we're getting back to what we lost. Islam, I hear the floor.
Islam, brother. All right, Islam. Does anyone have anything you would like to demonstrate on, or any questions? All right, if there's no questions or comments, want to announce without further ado, we're going to go into the closing of the meeting. Brother David Sell, please share your website. A brother just asked about the turbans. Just share your website in the chat. All right, Islam Moors, don't go anywhere. We're about to read the divine warning. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government, and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know the law in the city hall and among the officials in your government, and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply. For they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship, by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger. The same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. and every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So, there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come. Because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, disease, etc. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with the divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses, but I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet. All right, Islam, Moors. On that note, just want to share again our website, just a few things as we close up. So just sharing for everybody here, if you haven't been to the website, go to moorishamericans.com. You can make a free account on there. That's not joining the temple, it's just for the website. Also, you can send a donation straight to the temple. It's on the front page. Just scroll down, click that donate button, and you can send a donation to our temple. I don't believe we have any other announcements. No. So yeah, that's moorishamericans.com. Islam. And on that note, let's go ahead and close. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I ask that all members please rise and face the east for the closing prayer. We stand with our heels together, feet at a 45-degree angle, holding up 2 fingers on the right and 5 on the left. You do not need to repeat after me. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creed and principles. We ask this in thy holy name in the seven Elohim. Amen. Peace and love, Morris. Blessed holy day. Happy holy day. This meeting is now adjourned.
Islam, happy holy day, Muslims.
Happy Holy Day.
Happy holiday. Peace and love.
Peace, happy holy. Happy holy day.